Today's program has been brought to you by TechServe, New York's original and still the best Apple computer, iPod, and iPhone store and repair shop. For more information, visit techserve.com. You're listening to Heritage Radio Network, broadcasting live from Bushwick, Brooklyn. If you like this program, visit heritageradionetwork.org for thousands more.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
coming in with a... Yeah? Coming in with a bullet?
Yeah, coming in with a bullet. Ending on a bullet.
Welcome to the 150th episode of
Snacky Tunes.
Is that what it's called?
That's the studio audience.
This is going to be just an hour of bloopers, call-ins, thanks for the memories.
Yeah, we got our top 5 36-second interviews. We're really excited to.
We've been working on this show since we started the first one.
Wow.
If you really think about it.
The only work we're doing today is decimating pizzas, which we've, with the help
was
of
really quick work.
Scott and Justin from Turing Machine, we put down almost 3 full pizzas in 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
Sure.
The last one I think is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got those slices of green peppers that remind me of pizza when growing up.
Yes.
So welcome,
Thank you for having us.
Justin. Second time.
Second time?
Scott, first time.
First time.
First time guest, no time listener.
No, I listened to. I think I listened to Justin's show. So you know.
And a
It
big,
is known as my show.
Yeah.
and can we send a big shout out to Mama Bresnitz and Papa Bresnitz? Happy anniversary yesterday.
Oh, yeah,
But
happy
Mom,
Yeah.
34 years.
34 years.
Whoa.
But Mom, who's in the kitchen right now cooking Passover dinner, which we are going to hop in the car after this and drive to Philly
Sweet.
and eat gefilte fish. So how long have you two known each other?
1991, so 22 years, I guess.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
And why don't you run through the projects you've worked together?
Can we talk about how they met? We'll get there.
We've been in 2 bands together, like 2 real bands that have made records. First band was in DC called Pitch Blend. That's Pitch Blend, one word with an E at the end. And
I didn't realize there was
but that
another
always,
spelling.
basically, every time you tell someone what band you're in, you'd have to add that to it. Yeah. And then we moved to New York, kind of within a few months of each other. And
I moved in December 94, and you moved, what, June, January, February
March
95?
March 95.
March 95.
And then late 90s, we started a band called Turing Machine, which is always kind of meant to be more of a project than a full-time band, and put up 3 records in Turing Machine and 3 records in Pitch Blend.
And currently you guys do what now?
I was a wine buyer at a retail shop for about 8 years, and now I'm a partner in a wine importing company with my friend Zev Rovine and my friend Laurent Bonbois. And we sell wine to retail and restaurants in New York City and to other distributors in America.
Is it? I heard it's a law that you need to have some guy named Laurent if you're going to do a wine business in the States.
We got a good Laurent, too, so we kind of lucked out.
A nice vintage one.
Yeah.
He's handsome, smart,
yeah.
speaks great English.
And he's from the Laurent region, right?
He's from the he lives next to the Laurent River.
Nice.
And Scott?
I came to New York and kind of stumbled into a magazine career, writing, editing, and now I am at Bon Appetit magazine, special projects editor, which is kind of a title we kind of made up. But
Those are the best kinds.
Give
It is.
an example of a special project.
well, we have an iPad edition, and I'm the editorial overseer of that. And then what else? Special project, website.
An official bearer of salsa.
Oh yes, I brought a couple things off the free table. A can of salsa.
thank you.
and,
You keep iterating that it's free. Like you want to.
We got it. You didn't spend a dime on us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
good, guys. We couldn't have told you episode 150 enough to hint at like gifts, champagne.
I took a couple
prizes.
things off the expensive table.
Oh, there it is.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I feel so good.
They take it out of his paycheck.
Okay, so
So-
let's go back to the beginning. How did young whippersnapper Justin and young scuttlebutt Scott meet?
91.
91.
91, I was playing, sort of making recordings with my friend who I worked in a record store with. And
Hold on. 91, DC working in a record store?
I know, hard to believe.
How much black or plaid were you wearing at the time?
I think I was wearing a fair amount of grunge chic, which is looking out at the crowd at Roberta's pretty much the same gear.
It's a 20-year cycle.
Exactly, it's true. So we put back then, no internet, no nothing like that. So we put an ad in the newspaper before like in the free alt weekly. Before the back pages were just ads for prostitutes.
No.
There would actually be ads.
Before
it got good.
Yeah,
Before it got real good.
So and Scott and another guy answered, and we ended up it actually worked. Like we got together and jammed, and the first time we played, I think we wrote like 3 or 4 of the songs that were on our first record.
Who's the other guy?
There's a guy named Pat Goff that was a drummer, and the guy I was playing with is named Triops Trafid.
And what are Pat and Trioff doing?
Triops is a visual artist in L.A., and I don't know. What's Pat do?
Pat works for a transportation think tank in D.C. and plays in a band called Imperial China.
So you guys all have you're not dead.
No.
Yeah.
We're closer to it, but
Yeah.
we are not.
Yeah.
So you guys survived. And so take us through Pitch Plan. What happened?
I mean, it was like a fun time. It was the indie rock time. I mean, that was right around the time everybody figured out that you could put out your own music. So lots of people, there were just tons of bands, tons of records. People were very excited. We just would, there wasn't a huge commercial, the independent scene wasn't really commercial. So at that time, if we wanted to go on tour in October, we'd start calling people in August, maybe even September, and book like a 2 or 3 week tour and go.
Did you just have like a notebook of just like guys? Yeah.
And then we got a booking agent later, but when it started,
I
you
think
just pop a 7-inch in the mail and somebody'd call you back.
And you would at that time, Maximum Rock and Roll had the book your own. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah. Book your own
fucking life, and that actually, I think the second tour we may have used that, but the first one I remember just Justin calling people from his work phone.
Yeah,
at Olson's Book and Records, and we told the story the other day, but he called me and said, "Hey, I got us a show in Denver." It's like, "That's great. How much?" He said, "I'm not sure." He said a C note. That's 100, right? It's like,
I had no idea. Yeah,
like-
but I mean, it was crazy. I mean, like these, and we would play like legitimate places. We weren't playing basements or house shows or anything. Like we were playing bars with like meals and people there. And
You never did
You'd
the-
call somewhere and they'd be like, "Well, we'll put you on the Shellac show or whatever." It was just like it was totally. It was just the way it worked. It was really strange.
and because your rent was $250 a month or
Right,
whatever it
and
was, it was
gas-
not very hard to. Yeah, and gas was super cheap. It wasn't actually that hard to come back and have a month's rent and the month rent that you just paid for. In your pocket.
I literally got my driver's license the year that gas went above 89 cents, and I was like, oh, maybe to go back down. So anyway,
Yeah.
And all that driving you did.
yeah, and all that. Well, when I was younger-ish.
So you never did the whole sleep on couch basement
Oh,
show?
tons.
Okay.
We slept, I mean, that's all we did was
Because
sleep
you
on
just made it
couches.
seem like... So you play the show...
Played the show, then you would announce that for the last song, you'd say you had stuff for sale, and then you'd say, "Hey, if anyone has some extra space, we're 4 or 5 clean living guys, and we'd love a place to stay, and come see us afterward." And most of the time, somebody would.
There was always somebody in every town who was like, "I'm the guy that lets bands sleep at his place.
Yeah.
I would
Come
also-
back to my house and watch this weird Sun Ra documentary with me, man."
I refer to that guy as the Sun Ra guy because he existed in many different
Every
towns.
single city.
No tour romance stories.
Yeah.
I
Dude,
loved touring.
have you heard the Pitch Blend records?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like they were thinking about this. It's almost like we were trying to see how we could alienate anyone that could possibly listen to our band by making a collection of inside jokes and atonal songs.
Did
and
any girl
it
show up?
totally worked.
Any
Yeah.
girl show up to the show?
No.
No.
If they came with their boyfriends,
Yeah.
and they also dressed like dudes, so you couldn't tell they were women.
Yeah. Unless they had a zine to sell. Maybe they'd show up to sell their zine.
So let's fast forward through Pitch Plan. You guys.
Hold on, wait. Do you have a pitch one?
I could play like a hit, a relative hit.
Let's hear
Okay.
a hit.
Here's a hit.
Oh, the 90s.
Pitch Blend with an E. So,
So wait, was that on 7-inch cassette?
That was on CD and LP, actually.
did it self-released or what label?
It was on Cargo Headhunter, which is like the same label drive like Jehu was on, stuff
Ooh.
like that. But
The X.
the way we got signed is actually kind of a cool story that talks about the old days too, because we sent a cassette demo to CMJ magazine, which was actually really important at the time, and they put it on the cover as best new music, and then we got letters in the mail from record labels.
Yes.
When
Like,
things
like,
just
very
like
old
major
timey.
labels
like
and stuff.
move slowly. Just
Well, how long did that take?
Yeah,
The whole thing probably took maybe
you had to have a PO box.
probably 6 weeks, probably. Like the whole thing from when we sent it to when we saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 6 weeks.
As opposed to like a band goes up on Stereogum and gets into a bidding war in like 24 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was no
6 weeks.
There was no bidding war.
6 weeks is still pretty fast.
Well, it was all horseback then too. So it's amazing.
And then you guys quit your jobs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about DC was after we kind of started going on tour, after the second tour, we never had like the same job. And DC is full of temp jobs, so we all worked for like the government. I believe Triops, our guitar player, had a job where he had to go to a Coke plant and shake 6 packs of Coke to see if they had leaks.
Bottles were broken or leaked. I worked at a drug testing lab reporting results. Yeah, everything was a gas.
And what were you eating at the time? Because we saw
It's really funny.
You guys were svelte, to say the least.
I think about those times a lot because I don't seem to have very many food memories of Washington D.C. It's mostly because we were broke, but I mean, we also lived in group houses, and I remember cooking a lot. But I don't. I mean, there was I remember lots of pizza. There was a place called Armand's that had a $5 all-you-can-eat pizza buffet, and we would go there.
That was great.
A deep dish.
Justin and I shared a house with some people for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally we would cook together. We kind of grew up in a similar way, kind of Italian American family, like Sunday sauce kind of thing, and we did that a couple times. But it was DC, same here. I don't have a whole lot of memories other than going to Burrito Brothers occasionally.
Oh, Burrito Brothers.
Yeah.
Getting
That would
about
be a big night.
4,000 calorie thing of rice and beans.
Any good tour food stops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, but later when we ended up playing in Turing Machine too, that was
Don't
like
jump the
a
gun.
real.
Pitch Blend.
Occasionally,
Okay,
occasionally
sorry.
on Pitch Blend, Triops didn't really eat. Pat was a vegetarian who didn't like food, so he would just kind of go off on his own.
Triops has my favorite ordering thing where we would be at like Ben's chili and cheesesteak restaurant, and he would order the salmon. Like he was that guy. Right. No, I was like, don't and then
do
like,
it. You're
the salmon
embarrassing.
is terrible.
But there's a kind of a hierarchy where you're lucky if they buy you a pizza for the show, and then above that you might get a buyout, like a $10 buyout.
Right.
So you'd get a $10 buyout, and you'd go kind of fan out around the neighborhood where the club was and see like what you could find. And generally, Pat the vegetarian would go off and buy a burrito, and
Scott and I would actually try to find a restaurant, and there's those little things like when you're in a punk band and you're sleeping on floors, if you could just manage to scrape enough money to do something that you consider kind of civilized during the day, and like sit in a restaurant and have somebody bring you food and relax and be like, this is going to be okay, and sit there and talk about how nobody's probably going to come to the show or whatever, but it like give that little period of time where you're not as anxious.
We also there are a handful of times where we'd be stuck somewhere. We were in Olympia, Washington for a long, like maybe 2 or 3 days, and we made like a Sunday sauce.
Yeah.
And that was great. It's fantastic.
We would
Everybody
cook
was
at
psyched.
people's houses and like cook for them, and that was always
Just
kinda
watch
fun.
Sunrod documentaries all day
Exactly.
and cook Sunday
Exactly.
sauces.
We actually, and one of my favorite memories was in Livingston, Montana, outside of Bozeman or Missoula. I forget. Someone help me with Montana. Anyway,
I think it was outside of Missoula. No, it was outside of Bozeman. It was outside of
which is
Bozeman.
great. We stayed with this guy, John. God, what is his last name? Anyway, he booked all the shows, and you stayed at his house. He's actually now a big deal Hollywood sound designer, actually. But we stayed with him, and he left. But he left us elk steaks in a marinade. And we had elk steaks and this great kind of
we
this
barbecued
great
elk steaks
whiskey
outside.
chili marinade, and that was just amazing.
I would eat
first
that.
time you had
I would eat
elk?
that now.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was
that was great.
incredible.
So like that was sort of the trajectory Scott and I got on around that time because we grew up in big food families and we were traveling, and around like the third or fourth or whatever tour, we'd been to a lot of these places before, and it kind of became about like what else is there to do?
How
in the
can I make
city?
this more interesting?
You end up seeing the Williamsburg, of every single place you go to. You play if you're lucky, you play in the Bedford Avenue of every city.
There's
which is great.
one.
If you're unlucky, you end up paying the Ainsley
And it's in
Street.
Virginia.
Yeah,
I remember
Colonial and classic.
Darin when I lived on Capitol Hill in Seattle, and he's like, "So where are we gonna go hang out?" And I was like, "I'm living where we hang out." And then we did that, and then it's like, "That's it."
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
Like,
we
I was
did
there
it.
for a weekend, and I was like, and by Sunday, I went, well, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Cool, Seattle.
We have
Thank you.
a very good Capitol Hill in Seattle food store. We were in Seattle for a couple of days, and we stayed with this guy Niels Bernstein, who now runs.
That was he was a publicist
VP
at Sub Pop
Matador.
then, and now he's the publicist.
And he always stayed with
at
him.
Matador.
And we were there for a couple of days, and a friend of his had just been to Alaska, and I guess FedExed the salmon in or something.
Yeah, his friend was salmon fishing in Alaska, and FedExed him, overnighted him, like wild caught cold water Pacific salmon.
Wow.
And they had this amazing salmon. Did you guys grill? I missed it because I went to go see a college friend, and that was not fun. But I missed the whole thing, and I missed...
Drew Barrymore show.
Drew Barrymore
back
showed
in the
up,
day.
yes.
Back around when she was dating the guy in Hole, and then we all went to a drag show.
Oh, yes, the drag
Wait,
show.
Drew
was-
Barrymore show?
No,
No, a
she's-
drag show.
Drag show.
Oh.
So let's
We're on your show. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
So,
sorry.
yeah.
Wait,
I just...
Darren heard wild caught salmon. He's like, now I would get like some lemon.
That's
so-
what we did. We steamed it lemon in the oven.
Let's talk about the decline of Pitch Blend. When did you know that your time as a 4-piece was over? And what was the end game like?
We had a really miserable last tour where Justin and a couple other guys in the band got a ton of stuff stolen, and then about
Which number tour was this?
like 3 or 4.
4 or 5.
Was it like a one
We
night-
did weekend shows every
We did a lot of
weekend up and
weekend
down the East Coast. So like we would be in Boston and Philly and
Richmond.
Richmond. Like we were always like around up
Yeah.
and lots of college shows. But then we'd go on like full tours like
Yeah.
once a year.
Yeah, this is one of
couple
those
times a
like
year.
2-month tours, and we got a bunch of stuff ripped off in San Francisco, which is why I still can't love San Francisco. And then
the
about
food scene is like, don't judge us.
I know, and about 2.5 weeks later, we thought we had kind of recovered, and then I got the crap beat out of me in Albuquerque, and we had some more stuff stolen.
What?
And by then, we were just okay. It was just kind of
All of our clothes got
kind
stolen
of silent.
after Scott
on the way
got
back.
beaten up outside the band by like some like cholo dudes, hoping that they'd do a lot better than 5 luggages full of thrift store clothes and Dickies. But that's
showed
what they
them.
got.
Yeah.
These skinny, nerdy dudes look like they got a lot of Louis Vuitton going on.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, we got back, and you know,
You
I
blamed
think
it on the band?
no, I think
Yeah,
we all
we were just kind of ready.
We're getting
I mean,
older. Like
we were playing more, and there were diminishing returns, and it was like we had traveled enough too to be like, wow, DC sucks.
Yeah.
Let's get out of DC. It's like,
wow,
so
we're in this town, and it's midnight, and there are 5 or 6 different places where you can get food.
Right. So the band breaks up, and you guys look towards Brooklyn, New York.
I was thinking of Chicago or New York, and the woman I was dating at the time, girl, I guess at the time. We were young. That's what I mean.
Didn't you say you were getting older? How old were you at this time?
24.
Oh,
Yeah, getting
God.
older.
We were
Yeah.
getting older.
Yeah. So and I was looking at Chicago, and she got a job here, and then I moved here, and it ended up being a great decision. I'm really glad I didn't move.
What
to
year is
Chicago.
this?
I'd probably be playing jazz. This is 94.
Okay.
And I moved a couple months later. I moved, actually, weirdly enough, March of 95 to the 3rd stop on the L train in Graham Avenue, and
What was that like?
it was there was let me see, there was my landlord who was the cop who'd been kind of done something, and he got demoted to being a peace officer, and made very unfunny racist jokes to me all the time. Told me how I could
As opposed to the very funny.
yes.
Very big distinction
Like
Yeah,
the
here.
very
Louis
big
C.K.
distinction.
racist jokes that we've grown
Those are
so
hilarious. He was not in that. Told me how I could get my car off the insurance rolls if I wanted to go out to New Jersey, and that his son would help me. And there was the White Castle, and that was pretty much it.
I remember coming out to see Scott because I lived in Manhattan at the time. Because you could do that then.
Where'd you live?
I lived on 27th and 3rd in a neighborhood that my friends was so bland and so white. My friends referred to it as Little Pittsburgh.
Whose mom lived in your building?
Yeah. Barry Manilow's mom lived in my building.
It had not much. As Murray Hill got much better.
I had a 1-bedroom with a doorman and a washer and dryer for $1,200 a month that was rent stabilized.
I would visit him
that
and
was the
think that
most
he lived in the
expensive
Jefferson's
apartment I
apartment.
looked at in Manhattan at the time. So it was a different era. But Scott lived out here, and I remember coming out, and I felt like I was going to the middle of nowhere. And now I work 4 stops past that.
So what? And what jobs did you guys have at the time?
I got a temp job back then. There was just tons of jobs, and so I got a temp job the first day
Thank
I
you, Bill
moved here,
Clinton.
and they offered me a job that day that I temped, and so I ended up working for 5 years at a health insurance company doing like weird shit.
And Scott?
I didn't have a job. I was unemployed, and there was a moment where I'd $400 left and just trying to figure out, well, I guess I can move back to Maine and live with my parents. Actually, they were divorced. Live with a parent. So I spent my days, my roommate and I, we figured out that people wouldn't give us any shit if we walked around like everyone else did in the neighborhood. So we walked around literally shirtless, wearing jeans, drinking Rolling Rock in our neighborhood for maybe a couple of weeks. And then I got a call from John Fine, a friend of mine, who was working in journalism, and he needed help on a project that eventually became Time Out New York, actually. And so I did that and thought I had it made because I think they paid me like $100 a day, and it was all great.
Did you get tan?
I did. I got tan. It was good.
And so then where was the, it's like, hey, like we should do another project.
I was living in the same John Fine.
What year is this?
1996.
John Fine of which
John
band?
Fine of Bitch Magnet and Vineland and
Coptic Light.
Coptic Light, yes. Soon to be releasing a new memoir on the indie rock experience.
Yes.
Where we both make cameos.
Yes, exactly. With cameo.
Hey,
Shirts on?
Shirts on.
Did he make you look
Shirts
cool?
off. No, it did not. Anyway, so John lived in a loft building on Roebling and South Second. Big building. I think.
And Roebling and South Second in 1995 was terrifying.
$1 a square foot. They had an 1,800 square foot space. They paid $1,800, and there were 4 of them. There's a studio in half of it, and I was in between places because I'd moved out of my my racist landlord's house and lived in the studio and kept my sleeping bag in the bass drum. And during that time, Justin started coming in to Brooklyn more often, and then the drummer of John's band, Vineland, we kind of got along with, and we liked the same kind of music, so we just started playing. And I don't exactly know what happened, but at a certain point, we had a handful of songs.
Yeah, and we did this thing where we played. It was me, Scott, and Jerry Fuchs, and we did this thing where we played for 3 years, and we never played a show because we were convinced that we were going to get a singer because nobody wanted to hear an instrumental band. And so we went through like a handful of friends and strangers, and it always sucked. And then one day we were just like, "Oh, wait, I think we're a band. Like, I think we actually." Like, we can just do this. These songs are pretty sweet. Like, let's just be an instrumental band. And, I mean, we can't have less people like us than, like, Pitch Blend. So,
which was true, by the way.
Why don't we hear an early one?
Early one?
And what year was
sure.
this?
This is 96.
96. I think one of the earliest songs we wrote on the first record. I will play. What should I play?
I don't know. Go for it.
Let's play a song called "Got My Rock Pants On." How's that?
There you go.
And it goes.
We didn't write a lot of short songs.
I mean,
sorry about that.
I have to say, for any of you fans, like, just dive into Spotify if you have it. Like I spent this weekend listening to all of your
nice,
records.
man.
Well, my first memory.
Ching.
Yeah. What do you get? What are you getting on?
I think you get 0.01 cents.
Yeah.
So you guys made money by coming on here, is what I'm trying to say.
We
So
did. 3 pizzas.
I'm not going back to work.
my first
I just
Hell with it.
my first memory of you is that I did college radio, and I used to have the 8 a.m. Friday show. So I would go out drinking all night Thursday, and then go to bed for a couple hours, get up, go to the radio station, and on the days that just the hangover was more just like.
So
still
you did
drunk.
drive time.
8 a.m. drive time, Eugene, Oregon. I think that's like a lot of people on bikes. I would just try and find records that had like the longest possible song so I could play them and then sleep.
So we are the stranglehold of indie rock.
So it was like the Live Built to Spill album, a couple
Like,
like
just play Cortez the Killer.
yeah, like Rodan records, and then your guys' records. So I would put your guys' records on and just kind of like put my head down on the counter, and that's
happens
how
a lot, by the way,
that's
yeah.
how-
Yeah, exactly.
that's
That's the
how-
general reaction to our music.
New Touring Machine album. Thumb.
But anyway, that was like the first, and I was like, oh, this band is great.
Oh,
And then I went to sleep.
And I first saw
Again,
you guys at 4040 in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
R5 production show. And
Shout out to Sean Agnew.
Sean Agnew walked by me afterwards and was like, "Wasn't that the sickest fucking thing you've ever seen?"
So
And
Sean
I
was
went-
a big supporter.
And then all I went was, "Sean Agnew just talked to me."
in my mind, just with Sean Agnew, I mean, he's only a few years older than us, but to us, because just the way that it works, Sean Agnew is like a giant in our mind, and like could potentially is like because he started so young, even though he did so much stuff when he was so young, he might as well be like 50 in my mind. He's been doing so much
He's
stuff.
an incredible success for DIY too. So
And
he's
if
actually
anybody
really
has-
inspiring dude.
Yeah.
And we cruised. We were on the Coachella cruise together.
Yeah.
So
So 96, the band is
we just started.
you just started. What's the
first
food?
record? Kind of was recorded in '99, so it took us
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the food landscape for you guys at that time?
a lot of cheap food.
yeah, I think we weren't really making a ton of cash, but we were eating a lot of Chinatown.
I would walk in over the crumbling Williamsburg Bridge at that time, and we'd meet up and we'd get Vietnamese food a lot. We had a lot of pho. We called it pho back then. I guess now we have to say pho.
Now we saw pho.
And we would go to the same place. I was just saying before.
Was that pho de Trang?
We would go to Pho Pasteur.
Pho Pasteur.
And,
That's it. Pho New Pasteur.
Yeah, I went maybe 40 weekends out of 1 year.
40 times?
Fairly certain. You go in, same guy working, no glimmer of recognition.
Yeah, I
It's
see
like-
the same people. I go to Pho Bang with my wife all the time, and the same guy waits on us every single time for 10 years.
We know what they say about white people. All look the same.
That's true.
That's funny
And they just
racist, by the way.
they all just
Just-
order number 8. They all order number 8.
What was
number
number 4?
It's the pho
can I get
with
that
brisket.
Can I get that with no tripe, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And now you're like, the more tripe, the merrier.
Back then, like we'd go out to Queens to we heard that there's a Brazilian restaurant or whatever. It was all ethnic food
Yeah,
because that was the cheapest way to eat too. You'd go to Jackson Heights to eat Indian. You'd spend a lot of time trying to find
the
cheap
rumor,
eats.
the rumor of the barbecue place in Queens that had real barbecue. This is before barbecue blew up.
Was that at the Car Auto Park?
I don't know. We just drove. We went to a couple places, and one time it was closed. And
Yeah.
it was that sort of thing. Like someone always had a car, and we would always.
You'd
try
hear
to
about a
drive out
burger
these
place.
places.
You'd go out to the burger place in the back of a sports bar or whatever. Like it was always about cheap food. Like the idea of dining, like the idea of eating in a restaurant in the '90s for us that had 2 numbers in the price of the food was out.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if it was over $9.99, there was a place called Sotto Cinque on 3rd Avenue, which was pasta under $5.
Under $5.
And we'd go there, But we tried to find the best food we could for what we could afford. We were still really, for even being broke, we were incredibly picky.
Yes, snobby, picky.
Isn't that what indie rock is?
Yes.
Of course, yes.
I'm broke, but I'm very picky. Oh,
Yeah.
is that the floor I'm sleeping on?
Is
not
there a
this.
cat here?
Not this Sun Ra documentary. I've seen this one.
I get it. He's from outer space. I know.
So you guys start touring, right? And you see,
No, we never.
No?
That's the
Turing Machine
thing.
was never really a
Turing Machine was
touring
actually
band.
ironically named because we never toured. Really, more than I think we
And
did.
everybody thought we
did
were
10
called
days.
Touring Machine,
Yes.
and then we'd have to explain
got-
our way out of that.
So
oh,
you didn't
that
learn-
probably
another
wasn't
band
a nerdy
with
conversation
this-
at all, was
no,
it?
no, and it usually was with women. No,
Yes.
it was not with women.
We're-
Yeah.
So you didn't learn the lesson from pitch blend with an E.
I
You're like,
know,
we'll call
I
it
know.
Turing Machine.
And we won't have a singer.
Yeah, we won't have a singer.
Got it.
well,
So-
at least you couldn't alienate women with lyrics.
Gold.
With what?
You couldn't
That's
alienate them
true.
with just
That's
math
true.
rock.
That's true.
It's true.
But,
So
um,
things did change, but things have very much changed. I mean, at this point, we're playing, and the audiences are they're pretty 50-50. I would say.
50-50 now,
Yeah.
Well, because now
yeah.
you're playing with that sweet disco sound.
Exactly.
Sweet disco sound. Yes.
So 99 first record comes out. What label is it on?
J-Tree.
Love J Tree.
And that was the
That was
like
the-
the golden years of J-Tree.
99.
Just
Mr. Brazil was on that record. on
Our
that-
first show was with the Promise Ring. Like, they called us and they're like, I knew those guys, and they're like, come on, stop playing in your practice space, play a real show. So we went and played with them at some college upstate.
Bard.
At Bard.
Yes.
Oh, well, you had a good chance up there with
well-
Smith and all those, right?
Yes, I was
Well,
expecting a lot.
you know, when you play with the Promise Ring, pretty much that's where all the attention from the girls.
It's true. I was expecting a lot of black turtlenecks and smoking, but apparently that hasn't been like that for a while.
Oh man, but that part of what, New Hampshire,
No,
It's upstate New York.
Upstate New York, dude.
upstate New York.
Tivoli. But so yeah, so we ended up playing with like all the Jets to Brazil, like we did a small amount of like regional touring with all those bands because they were friends. Joan of Arc,
We essentially,
man.
essentially
Yeah.
went out to Minnesota and back.
yeah, and it was great.
Yeah,
and then
it
we
was awesome.
did that 2 times.
Yeah.
And what was the reason that kept you guys from being on the road?
We were all employed.
Well employed, yeah.
And we were all like, "There's no way I'm gonna like."
Jerry
be
worked at the
broke
stock
again.
market. Our
Yeah,
drummer
Jerry worked in the
market.
stock market for a while, and then like, kind of bounced around and like ended up working at Scholastic for a long time. And we just we really didn't ever want to compromise being employed, especially living in New York. It's scary, you know.
right.
Yeah, still
And so
scary.
you were at timeout, and then you were just.
It was never a timeout.
Oh.
I ended up that was a project that fell through, and I ended up weirdly helping start ESPN magazine. And
Yeah.
then after that, I worked at VH1 and wrote TV specials for them.
What were some of your specials?
Oh, Where Are They Now is a big one that I wrote.
Oh,
I will
Which
say
is kind of like what this show is about, but
we're right here.
yeah, exactly. That's not an insult.
Oh, right.
I never is that an insult?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
what was your favorite? Where are they now?
My favorite Where Are They Now was when we got the guys from the Vapors back together for the first time to talk, and they sat down in London, and they hadn't really spoken since the day they broke up, and they still hated each other, and they got in a big fight.
And you guys don't even know who the Vapors are, so
No.
that's the best part.
I have no idea who they are.
Turning Japanese.
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
and now they make shows like that. They make
yeah.
shows where
now they
just-
made exactly. We
they're
should,
like,
have just made an entire show out of that genre instead.
They
That was-
did. They made that
Bands reunited.
Bands reunited.
These guys were not. It was 2 of the guys that were super successful. One guy was a lawyer. One guy was like some other entrepreneur, and the other guys you could tell were just like, I can't believe you ruined my life by kicking me out of this band.
And we're gonna get you all together for a big special on VH1.
Exactly.
So then, kind of take us through the next few years. The first record comes out in '99. You're touring a little bit.
Playing here and there on the
We
weekends.
played a lot in New York. We played like we were selling out brownies and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And
Played Brownies
was
last
great,
show as
yeah.
a cover band, which was kind of fun.
What was the cover band?
the very very last night of Brownies, like everybody that had ever played there got up on stage and did covers.
Ted Leo did it.
Yeah.
Did a set. We did a set.
Radio 4 did stuff, and it was super fun. Like sort of the house favorite bands.
Ted Leo. Did he play for 3 hours?
No, but he did do Barbara O'Reilly.
And my
Ooh.
studio stage dove at the end of it, which was really epic.
That's true.
Yeah.
What did you play?
We
I
did.
played My Threat song with John Fine singing.
We did a Mission of Burma
Mission of Burma
song. We did a
song.
Killing Joke song.
Oh yeah,
Which
and I think we did "Me I Disconnect from You" by Gary Newman, and I
and then
think we
a
did "No
Joy
Love
Division
Lost"
song.
by Joy
Yeah,
Division.
yeah.
Because those were the only covers I know, so I know that's what we played.
I know 5 cover songs.
We used to actually. It's funny with Turing Machine up until maybe 2005 or so. We'd always end the show with a cover where we'd sing because we felt bad. We made people listen for 40 minutes of instrumental music.
Yeah.
So it was always kind of fun.
Apologetic.
Like a really sad.
Sorry about
cover.
that.
Sorry, guys.
But
Here's a
during
song
that
you know.
time, the late 90s or 2000s, Don Cab and a whole litany
No,
of
we
other
toured-
bands.
those are bands that we played a lot with
I
in
went to a lot of
Pittsburgh.
Tristeza. Like I would go see
Yeah.
bands.
We played with them too.
There was no
Believe
lyrics.
me, if there was a band that didn't have a singer, we got the call to
We
play
always
with
I mean,
them.
did you
We always-
fully embrace math rock as a title, or did you?
I think we always wanted to play with bands that didn't sound like us.
Yeah,
And
our
we're
whole
always a
thing
little
is like
bummed
we
out.
really always, and it shows like the way we made the final record is we were really always trying to be sort of dance music-y or dance music related, even though at that point I didn't listen to any dance music, but I had seen a lot of car commercials. So I figured it
been
kind
in
of
a lot
had
of
a
hotel
general
lobbies?
idea. Yeah. It's a general idea of what it was. But I mean, we really were sort of into that kind of concept. I mean, it was more like we want to do something more funky and groovy.
And you did that with Panthers, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, but let's do early 2000s.
2000s, we actually started writing some more songs, and we recorded a second record called Zwei, which means, I believe, two in German. And recorded a record with Steve Revitt, who is a good friend of ours, who ran front of house sound for LCD Sound System and recorded a bunch of other bands that are bigger than us. And that came out on French Kiss Records.
Ooh,
which
what
is
up, Sid?
Exciting. Hi, Sid. Have you found our masters yet? Because no one seems to be able to find them. No, it's true. They've gone missing. It's very Eddie and the Cruisers, if you saw that movie.
They're going to show up in a box in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll re-release your second album.
That sounds perfect. So we recorded that, and then went on a little bit of a tour. Went down. Did we do South by Southwest that year?
That might, because I was in Panthers then too, and so we did a double tour where like both bands were in the same van, and I played both shows each night, which was actually really fun. And but the tour was whatever. We went South by Southwest and back, and we had a great time. Yeah. But
speaking of dance rock, that Panthers "Thank Me Both Hands" Mastercraft remix was one of the first like dance rock.
That thing was huge.
And I remember that came out, and that's when like you could actually collect all the dance rock songs, and it was like that, like
trading
and
cards.
House of Jealous Lovers,
like Phones, Block Party remix.
Yeah.
And I remember
Losing
trying to
My
find
Edge.
out like Massacre of who are these guys, and they just had like this weird photo up on their website, and like it was like really cryptic, and I was like, huh. We played that at all of our dance nights.
And then you found out it was the dude from Death from Above 79.
We were just not that savvy at the internet. It took us a while, but that was like one of the first. So.
Well, you'll be happy to know that there's a Turing Machine remix, Double 12 in the works.
That's true.
Which we're excited about.
Hot Chip remix, Steve Moore remix, House of House remix,
And a DJ McNanny
and a
remix.
DJ McNanny remix.
Wait, that sounds amazing.
Who's putting that out?
They're kinda great.
Temporary Residence. We're just waiting. We're waiting on a longer version of the Hot Chip remix. So
Long intros and outros for those DJs?
exactly.
Totally.
So you look like you're ready to play another song.
No,
Let's play another
I
song.
can play a song off the second record.
Yeah,
Or
here's
you
a
guys
song on the second album, then
I'll play a little bit, and then we'll go right to the
we'll bring it to the future.
new record, the future. All right, here we go. This is a bit of a fade in. All right, look at that.
Well, that changes everything, by the way.
I can see where the funkiness is already creeping in.
Yeah.
So around this time,
What year is this? Now where are we?
I have no idea.
The record came out in 2004.
So
And you've toured.
And yeah, Justin, you're getting into wine about this time, right?
Yeah. Someone we're all friends with, Jay Strell.
Love Jay Strell.
Jay
Shout out.
Strell, the great connector.
When he actually lived in a group house with Scott and I in DC, and he was really into
Dave
beer.
Sartorius.
He was really into beer, and he had these Michael Jackson The Beer Hunter videos that I would watch that blew my mind because I got into the whole idea that it was travel related. Not Michael Jackson. There was a white
British-
Michael Jackson, British.
British
Don't you
beer
mean
expert.
2 white Michael Jacksons?
Exactly. So he had these, and I got into that idea, and like that beer was like regionally specific, and it was, even though we could only afford Milwaukee's Best or whatever at the time.
But we would occasionally go to the Brickskeller, which had a 30-page beer book.
Yeah,
go
we'd get
through
really
load of
excited
beers.
because we all ordered a $5 beer, and then I moved to New York, and Jay ended up moving here later. And we would like spend the days walking around and hanging out because that's what you did then. You walk
Shirts
around
on or
Soho.
shirts off?
Shirts. Oh, we were shirts on.
Okay.
So, but Jay would always go to Astor Wines or wine shops, and like, sort of by hanging out with him, I was like, oh, I can actually afford wine. I didn't know it could be cheap, and around then, there were, we were still broke and young, so we were drinking like $5 bottles of wine, but they were actually made by people. And then Jay ended up getting a job years later. He was thinking about opening a wine shop actually, and just never really found the right space. And ended up working at Uva Wines, and when it was on North 5th Street in Williamsburg, and it was like, you should work here one day a week. And I kind of bluffed my way into the job and started working there and got really interested in wine. And
What year is this?
I got, what was it, 03?
Okay.
Yeah, it's
04,
really-
04 maybe,
yeah.
04. And yeah, probably 04. And then little by little, like a year and a half later, I really got so into it that I became the buyer there when the buyer left.
I remember
And-
you were telling me you were super excited about the Wine Avenger book.
Oh yeah. There was a book by this guy Willie Gluckstern called The Wine Avenger that I got really into, and it was like, it was about like, don't ever spend more than $10 on a bottle of wine, and they're swearing in it and all this shit, and I got really psyched on that. And so I used to go into the city then when I got really serious, and I'd go in the city and buy wine and bring it back to Brooklyn, and because there weren't wine shops out here, and I don't know, it was just
So, and how quickly did you become known as the wine guy of your friends?
a couple years maybe. I don't
Pretty
know.
quickly, yeah.
Jay was kind of the wine guy for a long time, and then I found sort of my niche, which was natural wines and stuff like that, which is sort of the indie rock world version of wine. So
Do you find that a lot of your indie rock tendencies just moved over to food?
I think it's not just indie rock, because all that little picky shit is just, there's music like that, there's food like that, there's clothes. I know people that are really into wine, that are really into fashion or book collecting too, that don't care about indie rock. It's just like they're all similar obsessions.
Doesn't care about indie rock?
No, it's sad.
It's weird.
She sounds female.
And then, Scott, how did you make your way into
ESPN magazine to
It was
food writing.
it was the culmination of essentially 15 years of doing a lot of freelance food writing for some awesome publications and some less awesome publications. I essentially needed money and knew a guy who edited the Farmer's Guide to New York. Remember those when they came out every year? Big bound books. Yeah. And I edited the dining restaurant section for 2 years, even though I had just moved to New York and didn't know anywhere to go. And that was
You're like, I heard there's a barbecue place out in Queens.
no, it was a
But
lot
it's
of
never open.
it was a lot of phone calls to Le Cirque asking them to send me menus and tell me about their specials, and then I'd write up a 30-word blurb about it, and then
Sparrows? If you're looking for New York's best pizza,
Sparrows was not in there. We tended to keep the chain restaurants out, but there were 3 levels of expense, and we never really had money to send me anywhere. And then I wrote a few things for Time Out, where my now actually boss, editor-in-chief Adam Rappaport, was the food guy back for Time Out. And I wrote one piece that he really liked, which was essentially living in New York on $5 a day food-wise, which is all about cooking out all your meals, eating leftovers. It was a week. I fudged it a teeny bit, but not that much. And
what was the fudging?
I didn't actually eat the chicken salad the next day from the roast chicken and a lot of that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you could have.
You could have.
You could have.
I see that you've been holding that guilt for years.
I did feel
We didn't
kinda
even
bad
probe
about
you, and you're like, I gotta
And
come
then,
clean.
and then he went to GQ, and I wrote a piece for him where I went upstate and killed a chicken. This is pre everyone
With his bare hands.
Everyone killing things.
Snap the neck
I
with
was
a knife to the
early.
neck?
No, it was actually an axe, which I since found out is less efficient, and you should actually just cut the vein and bleed them out, which is actually much more brutal. I've done that too. That's not fun. But the axe is just anyway. So I did that, and was always doing freelance food stuff on the side, and then eventually got back in touch with Adam when he got this job, and sent him way too many memos, and I think he just gave up and said, "All right, please, enough of the memos. Come on board."
And what year is that?
That was when they moved Bon App from L.A. to New York. They essentially got rid of the entire staff and restaffed up in New York, and so that was 2011, January.
So, Turing Machine second record came out when?
2004.
So what happened in the interim between? I mean, obviously you guys got jobs and everything.
Greg.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
can we not talk?
A lot
Yeah,
happened.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
of course.
At this point, our drummer Jerry was playing a lot of other bands. He was in Chick Chick Chick. He filled in
Played
for
LCD,
for
played
a
the Massive
tour.
Attack record. Like,
He was doing a lot.
He was
of,
really becoming
he was
the guy.
A real drummer, a real musician. Like
Unlike us, he was like a guy who would have been a professional musician for his life.
yeah, and and so we didn't play a whole lot. We would kind of get together and play a bit and get some steam, momentum, and then he'd go away again. So in 2008, we went upstate?
That sounds right.
Yeah, we went up. I've just kind of falling down house upstate. So we went up there for a long weekend of food and essentially recording a bunch of demos.
And our friend DJ
went up
came
from
up,
DJ,
and
our
our friend Mike
Mike
came up, and we just like cooked and drank
and played. I
played
mean, we went through
nonstop.
How many
we never
cases,
did that before.
How many cases of wine did
We did like 3 cases in 2 days.
Amateur
Amateur
hour.
We essentially played and drank all weekend and came away with a lot of really good stuff. And then listened to it, got excited about it. Then it kind of sat because Jerry went away and played.
And we tried to replay it, and it never had the same vibe because they were all improvs.
Yeah.
And we couldn't really relearn it, and then we never really had the momentum.
And then we started playing a bit, and we had a couple of really good practices. And then, about a year and a half later, as you may or may not know, people listening, our drummer died in a horrible, horrible accident, and obviously the band was put on hold, and it bummed everybody out as well as you might imagine it would when one of your best friends passes away. I hate to bring the radio show down. So
This is, I mean, I only bring it up because it is part of your guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
of
it's
course.
a
We're not
big
going to
part.
not talk
No, of
about
course.
it. Of course.
but we got talking, and we thought, what the hell? Let's see if we can finish this record. And
We
have
really wanted to.
A lot of people
it
were
was-
asking
a lot
us
of our
about
friends
it.
were like, "Come on, you guys! Like, you have all this stuff recorded. Don't pussy out on this."
Oh,
Like,
hold on. I heard a really great story. Wasn't there a story about
I'd like to hear the story.
he was still listening to the CDs?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
when we were one of the gruesome things that happens when a friend dies is if you're an adult, his friends come in and you clean out his room and call the family, and we were cleaning things up, and in his CD player was the CD of the demos. So he'd been listening to the demos, which is great.
And we had one of the last
great
time we hung out, we
Yeah.
were really talking about like, dude, let's just finish this. So we ended up going back. We had very generous friends. Our friend Jeremy at Temporary Residence, our friend Andrew Raposo, and
for sure.
then our future soon-to-be friend Abe Seifert. They really got with us, and they were like, let's finish this record. This
There's
is
a
going
lot
to
of
be
stuff
awesome.
here. You guys can do it.
Yeah,
And Justin
and-
and I didn't know. We kind of
Yeah, we
it's
weren't
a
really-
new way of making records for us. It was
Yeah,
kind
we
of
didn't
all
really know
in
how
the
to make
studio
records on the
and-
computer and edit and all that stuff. We just used to go in and play live and make it. But there was enough there that we really were able to edit it and make it into a record. And it was...
The records.
I still think it's the best thing we ever did.
It's amazing.
So-
And I just want to say that when we got it to, I mean, I'd never seen you guys growing up because no one ever came to Eugene.
Right.
When I was, at least when I was
Pitch
living
Blend
there.
did.
It's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
Pitch Blend.
There's a way to make gas money on the
Yeah.
way to San Francisco.
Pretty much, or south of Portland. But when I saw you guys play at Union Pool, I was like, "Holy shit, these guys are fucking amazing!" And like when you played that Union Pool show, which is still one of my favorite venues to see bands.
That was
Yeah,
fun.
so we ended up playing some shows for fun. We got our friend Chris Egan to play drums, who's now on tour probably for the rest of his life with Solange Knowles.
Yeah.
So you
great.
guys are
And-
really
yeah.
gifted at finding gifted drummers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
guess so.
also
Yeah.
finding drummers who we work well personality-wise. And Chris,
Yeah,
is,
so
Chris was a
that was
perfect fit.
that was another thing, another
And
reason
where
why
did you happen to find Chris?
he worked at the wine shop with me. Yeah.
At one point, we were rehearsing for our first show with the new band because we added 2 people after this record, and 3 of the 5 people in the band actually worked at UVA.
I remember
Yeah.
when you guys.
It was
played,
really hard to practice because we had to figure out a time where everybody couldn't be at work.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
you guys. I think there was one show you played where like Uva just shut down for the afternoon because it was just.
He had to run back
Oh,
to
yeah.
work after a show outside. Yeah, but so that's fun, and we do that more for like events and party shit. You know, like
Yeah. Should I play a song?
Yeah, let's play a song
No,
because
we'll
no,
go out
let's
with
finish
it.
up. Yeah, we'll finish up.
We'll finish out with it. So what's on the future for you guys, both food and musically?
I'm really into the wine importing thing right now, and just got back from 3 weeks in France. We signed somewhere between 7 and 9 new producers.
This new band's got some hot stuff coming out of
Yeah,
Champagne.
exactly. So that's been great. And
I mean, is that what it's like though when you're signing a new wine?
It's a little like that, but it's not. But bands like are somebody that's existed for a year. Like I'm talking about people that have made things for a long period of time that like work. Farmers. Like being in a band is easy. Being a farmer is no joke.
Can you just give us a quick rundown of what it's like to find a new wine and sign them?
It depends. But mostly it's personality. Like you go, you taste, you hang out. Hopefully it's good. A lot of the time it's not. You find something you really want, and then you have a conversation about who else you work with. It is sort of, in a label way, it is that kind of thing where like once you mention people that they respect that you work with, then they trust you. But a couple of American dudes just rolling up to some farmer's house, to taste and hang out, they can be suspicious until you show who your references are. And then you taste, you hang out, you go to the vines, you spend time together, you eat together, you develop a real relationship, and then when they trust you, they put a bunch of wine in a truck and it shows up in New York, and we sell it to restaurants and shops.
And what's your favorite new wine?
I don't really have a favorite.
You love them all.
No, I really like our book and I like our portfolio, and I'm really excited about what we're doing overall. And I think it's really amazing to see it all as one big package.
I'll ask another way. My parents, their wedding anniversary, 34 years. What type of bottle would you recommend from your book for them for 34 years?
I don't know. I don't know their parents. I'd have to know what they drank. I mean, that's the thing. It's
so democratic.
It is. It's about the time and the place. It's not like a cachet thing where like, oh, this will, this is going to make you happy. I think we have things that I think are really epic and beautiful, but.
Although you didn't know, that is actually the correct answer. Well done.
And if people want to find out where to get your wine, where could they go?
Well, we're working on a website. We don't have one. So we will have a website in the next, I'd say a month. We'll have a real website up. It'll just be ZevroVineSelections.com. I think it's ZevroVineSelections.com or ZRSWines.com. I can't remember.
Say that a little. How do you spell that?
ZRSWines.com or it's ZevroVineSelections.com. That's my friend Zev's name. He had the company long before we started working together, and I've helped him sort of develop a lot of the stuff he's done the last few years, and we're having a blast.
Awesome. Scott, what do you got coming up?
I actually get a little bit of traveling coming up, which is good because normally I am desk bound. I'm going to where am I going? I'm going to Maine for a little story. I should be going to London. Quickly, London. We got asked to play All Tomorrow's Parties.
Oh yeah,
we went on food.
And essentially,
tour.
Justin and I just set it up with our friend Nancy. Essentially, the show was the smallest part of it. The show was fantastic, but we set up food all around it. We did a DJ night the day after the show in London, so we could actually spend an extra day eating. We ate with the dudes from the Young Turks, Isaac and
shout out
and
Daniel.
Daniel and Johnny. We ate upstairs at 10 Bells, and they served us the menu they were working on for the new restaurant Shoreditch Clove Club, which
really
just
good
opened
reviews.
up.
Oh, it was awesome. That was one of the best meals I had
really
last
fun.
year.
And so we had a really great food experience in London. But where else am I going? Oh, I'm excited about Mexico City.
Oh yeah,
Mesa America. That should be a blast. I've never been. I have a good friend of mine who goes like once every 6 weeks, so I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. I think the last Swallow issue, Swallow magazine, was all about Mexico City. It's a scratchy sniff, so you should check it out. So
I don't know if I want to check that out really.
And then Turing Machine.
We're looking for our first show in 2013.
It's hard to get. Yeah. I mean, there are 5 grown men, and 3 of the other guys have very, very serious musical things they do, and so it's really hard to get us in a room.
Yeah,
we're hoping to do something interesting in the end of June, early July.
Oh my God, that'd be a great name for your next album. 5 grown men in a room. But we'll talk.
Interesting googling that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Well, we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll get you guys to DJ the barbecue series again this summer.
Oh, we did that last year.
That was a lot of fun.
We'll do that with Garrett and May and something like that.
Great.
Well, I want to thank everybody here at Heritage, Jack, Aaron, Patrick, Joe, all the interns. Rec Tech.
All the people eating in front of us.
All the people thinking of us.
The window.
The people at Roberta's. Mom, Dad, Joe.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
150 episodes.
Anniversary.
Greg?
150. Congratulations on 150 episodes.
Pretty awesome.
That's some real stick-to-itiveness. Really, I could never do something like
That's
that.
why I was kicked out of Gifted and Talented when I was a kid, because I didn't have stick-to-itiveness.
Oh,
They told me
yeah.
that.
You didn't get you got a wink and not a smiley face.
Essentially, yeah.
Awesome. And, hopefully in a year we'll be doing 200. And this summer we got a lot of good things. What's the smirk?
No, I'm just thinking about
Oh my
next
God,
week's
you're going
show.
to quit already, aren't you?
Yeah, no. So this has really been great. My last show. No. And thanks to my job for letting me to come.
Thanks to
every
all of our
Monday.
jobs for letting us come. And if you've missed any of the 150 episodes, which I can't imagine why you would have, they're all up for the archive on heritageradionetwork.org. Please become a member. Support us. We are at the mercy of membership drives.
It's true.
It's true.
I have one more song to play. Should I play the one with vocals or the one that's kind of a krautrocky jam?
Which one do you think best represents the future of Turing Machine?
Play the Krautrocky Jam. The other one takes forever to get
Krautrocky jam. Here we go. Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah,
It really
thanks
was a
a lot,
blast.
guys.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for listening to this program on heritageradionetwork.org. You can find all of our archived programs on our website or as podcasts in the iTunes Store by searching Heritage Radio Network. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at heritage_radio. You can email us questions at any time at info@heritageradionetwork.org. Heritage Radio Network is a non-profit organization. To donate and become a member, visit our website today. Thanks for listening.